All right, today let's get super practical. We're going to talk about how to make sure the effort we put into our lives actually, well, counts. We're diving into a core teaching called right exertion, which is really just the art of applying our energy in a way that truly makes a difference.
Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever had that feeling? You know the one. You're working so hard, just pouring energy into something, but you're just not making any real progress. It's like you're stuck in the mud, spinning your wheels. It's incredibly frustrating, and honestly, we've all been there. And this right here is the absolute heart of it. The problem usually isn't that you're not trying hard enough. It's about the kind of effort you're using. There's a huge difference between what we could call skillful effort, the kind that leads to real growth, and unskillful effort, which just keeps us stuck in that same frustrating loop. So, to really wrap our heads around this, we need to look at a central puzzle, a metaphor that gets to the very heart of this idea. I want you to imagine that navigating all of life's challenges is like trying to cross a massive, powerful flood. How in the world do you get to the other side? This is where it gets interesting. When the Buddha was asked this very question, how he crossed the flood, he gave this totally paradoxical answer. It sounds like a riddle, right? How can you possibly cross a river if you're not moving forward, but you're also not standing still? Well, this little riddle actually points out the two main traps we almost always fall into. On the one hand, when we push forward, when we strive too hard, try to force things, get all anxious and intense, we just get whirled about. We create more chaos. But on the other hand, if we stay in place, if we just give up, become passive, check out, well, we simply sink. Neither one works. They're both dead ends. So if pushing is out and staying still is out, what's left? What's the third option? Well, thankfully, there's a really clear four-part strategy for navigating this flood with actual skill. Let's break it down. The easiest way to think about this whole strategy is to picture your mind as a garden. It's pretty simple, really. First, you prevent new weeds from ever sprouting. That's step one. Second, you abandon the weeds that are already there. You gotta pull them out. Third, you cultivate good stuff, planting new flowers and vegetables. And fourth, you maintain them. You keep watering them and making sure they get enough sun. See? It's a complete system for taking care of your inner world. Now, this is where things get really fascinating, maybe even a little jarring. What fuels this whole gardening project? What gives us the energy to do all this? You might be surprised to hear that the answer is desire. And I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute. Isn't the whole point of this stuff to get rid of craving, to end desire? That is such a common misconception. And trust me, understanding the nuance here is a total game changer. Let's make this really concrete. Unskillful desire is that grasping, that craving that just leads to more problems, like wanting a second piece of cake when you're already stuffed. It's just a compulsive loop. But skillful desire, that's completely different. That's the deep, genuine yearning to be a better person, to grow, to be wiser or more compassionate, to actually help people. That kind of desire is an incredibly powerful force for good. So the big takeaway here is that this positive, skillful desire isn't the problem at all. It's actually part of the solution. It's the very energy, the fuel that we harness to tend our garden. It's what gets us across that flood without getting swept away or sinking. Okay, so we've got the four-part strategy, and we know what our fuel is. But what are the actual, nuts and bolts tools we can use every day to put this all into practice? Let's open up the toolkit. So how do we actually abandon those negative patterns, those pesky weeds in our garden? Well, the toolkit for this specific job has 7 distinct tools inside. And this is a really versatile toolbox. For instance, avoiding is pretty straightforward. If you're trying to eat healthier, maybe you just don't walk past the bakery every day. That's a tool. Developing is another one. It could mean actively cultivating patience right when you feel anger bubbling up. The whole kit has 7 approaches, including seeing, restraining, using, and tolerating. You've got options. But here's the thing. Just having a toolbox full of shiny tools isn't enough. The real art, the real practice is becoming a skilled craftsperson. It's about developing the wisdom, the discernment to know which situation calls for which tool. Sometimes you need a hammer. Other times you need a delicate brush. It's about knowing the difference. And to support this whole endeavor, to build the workshop where you can use these tools effectively, there are 5 foundational pillars that hold everything up. These 5 pillars are absolutely essential. It all starts with conviction. You have to trust that this process can actually work. Then comes health, because let's be real, it's tough to do this inner work when your body or mind isn't cared for. After that, you need honesty with yourself, the persistence to keep going when it gets tough, and finally, discernment, that same wisdom we just talked about, which guides everything you do. So, with the strategy, the fuel, the tools, and these pillars, where does this all lead? What's the end goal? Well, it's really important that we reframe our whole idea of a destination. The truth is, right exertion isn't some finish line you cross and then you're done. It's not about reaching some perfect, static state. It's the ongoing, dynamic practice of just showing up day after day and skillfully navigating the currents of your life as they come. It's a journey, not a destination. And maybe most importantly, please remember this. You will stumble. You're going to fall back into old habits. It's just part of being human. The practice isn't about being perfect. It's about being kind to yourself when you're not. Self-compassion is the secret sauce here. The key is to not beat yourself up, but to just notice, learn from it, and gently, kindly begin again. So let's bring all this home right back to you, right now. Forget all the theory for a second. Just check in. When you look at your life, your work, your relationships, your own mind, what would skillful effort look like? Not more effort, but smarter, wiser, more skillful effort. What would that look like for you today?